Marianne obviously ran her campaign based on the Economic Bill of Rights that Alan and I composed. And there are folks around the country. The thing that I'm really fascinated by is what's going on in West Virginia. Most people may not know that. Progressives within the Democratic Party have pretty much taken over the Democratic Party in West Virginia. And they, on the executive board, they have embraced the executive board. They have yet to do a full-scale convention kind of thing, but they've embraced the Economic Bill of Rights. And which to me was a real breakthrough, because Massachusetts had embraced the Economic Bill of Rights we composed already. California was moving towards it, but a very unpredictable state. They, at the last minute, they had other things on their agenda. Even the Arizona Democrats have been embracing it of late. So there's definitely activity going on around the states. In fact, I'm having a conversation this week with a fellow I haven't talked to in some time, who's a longtime state senator in Massachusetts, and I have a feeling he probably wants to discuss where we go from here to advance the Economic Bill of Rights. So there is all that activity. However, the Democrats really don't want to know from any of it right now at the national level. Yeah. Okay. I mean, as we know, they're all doing their damnedest. They're revved up for Joe Biden, and that includes, even the progressives on the left of the party. So we don't expect much to happen during the course of this year. But I can tell you that, and I was quite serious when I wrote a piece last fall Alan and I wrote it, but I took the lead on this one. And my argument is that, democracy in this country is really in trouble. I mean, we are in deep shit, and it's not going to necessarily, the Democrats who I've talked to inside the Beltway types, they think this is like one of the finest presidents ever. They just are absolutely. And I don't want to get into the question of war and stuff. I want to stick just right now to the domestic stuff.
Yeah.
And seriously speaking, sure, he's been better than a whole host of folks, including, the man he served as vice president. However, it remains the case that they just don't know how to turn all of that into politics. They just, for example, and the best example I can give you is many of these initiatives, which are kind of watered down versions of the original plans that they had, will make a difference, but they're not going to make a difference in the vast majority of people's lives. And there's this bullshit going around that inequality is being reduced in America. But then figures came out the other day that said, in fact, the same wealth, accumulation is taking place. So, frankly, this is a very depressing time for me politically, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. How's that?
No, I hear you. And for me, it's interesting that even the idea that you're having to go, or that somebody would have to sell this idea to Democratic parties is so strange to me. Yeah. I don't understand. Like, that should be the platform for all the Democratic parties, because that should just be what the platform is. So it's so strange to me that you're having to sell that. Like, in my mind, even coming into a place like Florida, that's something that, yes, our state party should have that as, like, what difference should it make that it's not necessarily going to be effective in our legislature right now? That should still be right, the platform of the state party. Well, that's what I understand. Why is this so difficult for people to understand?
I think basically the Democrats for many years now have been afraid of their own voters. I think they're afraid.
I don't agree with that.
Here's what I mean by that. We know the degree to which the Democratic Party is basically dependent on big corporate donors.
Now, yeah.
Okay. So if, on the one hand, this has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
In the course of my lifetime, at least. Okay. But it really is the case that, on the one hand, they do not want to antagonize those folks.
Correct.
They just won't do it, on the one hand. And on the other hand, in order to appeal to working people, they have to get serious about doing the very things that will antagonize those donors that they've got. So when I say they're afraid, I think they're afraid that they actually might enthuse working people if they start talking about an economic bill of rights. Because seriously speaking, the polls have shown, we actually had a poll run this past year on the question of economic bill of rights and to what extent voters want it. And the majority of Americans want the very things that are proposed in our economic bill of rights. It's not, they're not alien concepts. No. And so you ask yourself, well, why aren't the Democrats embracing it? They don't want to antagonize their donors. And I think they're really afraid that by speaking to their fellow citizens and sort of, look, I don't know what kind of proof Democrats need for the very simplest of things when Florida approved a referendum for a $15 an hour minimum wage a few years ago, right? I mean, that's the minor thing. And keep in mind that that's what Bernie wanted to include at the very outset of the Biden administration. And the Democratic leadership couldn't get behind it. Now, you could say it's only mentioned in cinema, but the Democratic leadership could not, they look.
But don't you ultimately think that that's because you can't both represent the servant and the master at the same time?
No, exactly. And they've chosen to serve the master.
Yes.
Okay. And but it's also the case that there are people inside the Democratic Party who who have no excuse for not coming out in favor, fervently coming out in favor of an economic bill of rights. You cannot have something called a progressive caucus.
Well, have you seen some of the Chantel?
I have. I mean, I have. Look, I mean,
come on.
I mean, look, no joke. I mean, I still can't get over the Nina Turner campaigns. Okay, it's just
the Congressional Progressive Caucus is not real. Like, no. I mean, it does literally exist, but not as a real means of progressive action or policy in the party. Like, it doesn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but then here's another thought. I'm all over the place with this right now because I'm not thinking straight. Because it's been this is just this is the strangest of political times ever in my life. Strange.
Oh, it's gonna keep getting stranger.
Oh, that
this just getting started. Yes.
So, look, how is it possible, for example, that the Democrats would not even entertain a discussion about primaries?
Because they don't care whether or not they beat Donald Trump. They proved to us in 2016 that they preferred Trump to Bernie. They've proven that. And I sit here now and I look at them bitching about RFK and he's this. They could have had him as his candidate. And you know what? He probably could beat Trump. And the thing is that they could have had that as their candidate. So they chose to not have, that.
Right. But you won't get me to, I won't talk about Bobby Kennedy Jr. Come on. I'm just not, no way. Absolutely not.
I mean, I don't support him. It's not my candidate. But if you look across the country at people who won't pick between Joe or Trump, there's a ton of people that would go with Bobby.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Which is also to show people, and also testifies to the fact that neither candidate, Americans don't want either one of these.
No,
or they just don't.
No.
And
but I do think that there will be a difference this time. And what I mean by that is they were shell-shocked, obviously, that Trump won in 2016. But I think they saw it as an opportunity to raise a lot of money, which they did. And they were able to get in a slew of, additional neoliberal candidates. There were some, decent representatives that were able to break through, but we all see how that's unfolded over the last few years. I don't think it'll be the same this time. I think if Trump gets in again, I think the Democratic Party machine's attempt to fundraise off of him being in there again, I don't think it's going to have quite the same effect.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.